People ask how I did it. 9 months alone at Station Halveth. No incoming traffic after the relay tower went dark in the 4th week. No outgoing either. Just me and the printer and the east-facing window in the forms. They ask what I thought about. They ask if I was afraid. The honest answer is that I was too busy to be afraid for most of it, and the rest of the time I was too tired. And by the end I had stopped asking myself what month it was because I had the slips to count instead. 3,814 departure confirmations. Processed solo. Stamped and filed and stacked in the gray archive boxes along the back wall. One of them I kept. That is the thing I never explained cleanly, so I will try here. The station sat at the edge of the Vethrani Compact's resettlement corridor, a pinch point where the refugee lanes from 3 systems converged before splitting again toward the interior. 2 desks, 1 printer, 1 narrow intake window that caught the morning light off the eastern landing pad, which I grew to love the way you love anything that stays reliable when everything else is contingent. The Vethrani came through in family clusters, mostly, carrying what they could lift and sometimes less than that. I logged them in, verified their departure authorization codes, confirmed biometrics, stamped the confirmation slip in duplicate, handed 1 copy to the family, filed the other. That was the job. I had done it for 6 months before the relay went dark, and I kept doing it for 9 months after. Because the families kept arriving and a closed station would have meant they had nowhere to go. The forms told me nothing would change if I stopped. The forms were wrong. HFY arrived on the 271st day of the blackout. She was the last of a family cluster of 7, small even for a Vethrani child, which meant she came to about my shoulder, all overlapping gray-brown scale plates and wide dark eyes that caught the light from the intake window and held it. Her family had already cleared processing. She had stood at the counter while I worked through them, very still, watching my hands on the stamp and the paper. When I handed her mother the confirmation slips, I looked down, and HFY was still watching, not at my face but at the printer tray, where her own slip sat waiting. I said, in my best Vethrani, which was not good, "You are clear to go." She said nothing. She put 1 small 4-fingered hand flat on the counter, palm down, and then lifted it, as if she was leaving a print. Then she followed her mother out through the processing door, and I heard the landing pad receive them, and that was the last departure I processed before the relay station 2 sectors over finally patched a line through, and the authority transports arrived and the blackout was officially over. I had already picked up her confirmation slip. I don't know why. I know what I told myself, which was that I would file it when the backlog was sorted, that it had simply not made it into the archive box yet. That was true for about 4 hours. After that I had filed the backlog, cleared the tray, squared the archive boxes, and I was holding a single strip of gray thermal paper with HFY's name half-eaten by ink fade on the top line, and her biometric code below it, and at the bottom the timestamp the printer had put there automatically, 0431. I folded it in half, then in half again, the crease sharp, then I put it in my breast pocket. I told myself it was because she had looked at the printer that way. The Vethrani Audit Authority arrived 11 months after station services were restored. There were 2 of them, in the authority's flat gray administrative suits, carrying calibrated scanning equipment in matched cases. The senior examiner was named Kors Varath. He was tall even for a Vethrani, older, with scale plates that had gone pale at the edges, and he moved through the station with the particular deliberateness of a person who has spent a long career finding things that don't agree with the records. They spent 3 days on the archive boxes first. I watched Kors Varath and his colleague work through the stacked departure forms with an instrument that photographed and cross-referenced every stamp impression, every biometric print, every authorization code. They logged discrepancies on a handheld tablet. They did not find many. I am careful with my forms. On the 4th day, Kors Varath asked me to present my personal effects for inventory. I understood that this was standard procedure under the authority's inspection protocol. I turned out my pockets onto the counter. He cataloged everything methodically. A folding tool with 7 attachments, a stub of graphite pencil, a dated departure roster for my own inbound transfer, and last, a strip of gray thermal paper, folded twice, the crease white with age at the fold lines where the fibers had begun to pull apart. The thermal print on the inside face faded but legible. Kors Varath did not touch it immediately. He photographed it first, then unfolded it with 2 fingers, very carefully, as though it was something that might come apart. He read the name line, the biometric, the timestamp. He consulted his tablet. He consulted it again. "This is an active departure file," he said. His Vethrani was the kind that doesn't need to be good. It was simply precise. Authorization code confirmed. Biometric confirmed. Timestamp confirmed. The file is not closed in the station archive. "No," I said. which means the departure is legally incomplete. The subject is classified as currently on station until the record is formally closed. I understand that. He looked at me. The wide dark eyes of the Vethrani, when they are thinking, go very still, the same way HFYs had gone still watching my hands. You have carried an open departure record in your breast pocket for 18 months, he said, as a clerical error. Not as a clerical error. He waited. I am not good at explaining this. I have had 18 months to think about how to explain it, and I am still not good at it, I said. She put her hand flat on the counter. When she left, I don't know if that means anything in the Vethrani tradition. She was young enough that I couldn't tell. Coarse Verath scale plates shifted in the particular way that means a Vethrani is processing something that doesn't have an immediate categorical home, he said. It is what a young child does when they are leaving a place they do not expect to see again. They leave a mark. I know, I said. I kept the slip for the same reason. The silence in the station room was the same silence that had lived there for 9 months of blackout, not empty, just very full of the absence of other voices. Coarse Verath looked at the slip. He looked at me. He picked up his tablet. He was very quiet for a long time. Then he began to write. The departure of subject HFY, he said, reading as he entered it, was completed on day 271 of the communication restriction period. Processing Officer Sable Oren retained the confirmation record as a witness mark. He paused. I am creating a new entry category. The authority has no prior record of a departure retained in this way. What will you call it? I asked. He thought about it seriously, the way the Vethrani think about terminology, as though the word will have to hold weight for a long time and should be fitted for it. A completed record held by the witnessing officer as evidence of passage, he said. We will call it a carried confirmation. He handed me back the slip. The fold lines were even more fragile for having been opened, the fibers almost fully separated now at the center crease, the two halves connected by a thread of paper so thin it was almost translucent. I put it back in my breast pocket. The departure record for HFY, Coarse Verath said, is now formally closed. She departed Station Halvith on day 271 at 0431. The record is complete. He paused again, and I had the impression he was doing something the authorities' inspection protocol did not have a precise procedure for. She reached the interior, he said. I checked while we were in the archive. She and her family are registered at Resettlement Station Orvith. They arrived 43 days after they left here. I said nothing. I put my hand flat on the counter, the same way she had. I didn't mean to do it consciously. I just did. Coarse Verath wrote something else on his tablet. Small, at the bottom of the entry. I didn't ask him what it was. Some records don't need to be explained to the person who made them. That is how I said goodbye every day for 9 months. Most of them filed cleanly. One of them I kept. The Vethrani have a word for it now.